Hey everybody, this is G here with Soul of a Fighter, and yet again I am here with Cyrus Stark, and today we're going to be talking about the UFC 219, the fight card, and we're going to be giving our analysis and breakdown. But if you watched last episode, I already gave my part, so this time we're going to let Cyrus give his analysis and breakdown of most of the fights, and I'll probably give in to see if my mind changed on some of the fights that I picked and see what's going on. So, Cyrus?
What's up, everybody? Great to be back. Great to be talking about what is a great fight card. I mean, the last UFC fight card of what's been an amazing year in MMA, and I mean, in many ways, almost by accident, because the UFC. I mean, if you guys are following closely, if you guys are hardcore fans, have gone the way of boxing, entertainment and boxing route, you know, like with the whole McGregor nonsense and all the other, I don't know, garbage they've come up with. It's like their attention has been focusing on all the wrong things, and while they were concentrating on all these useless and just, you know, what I don't even know what word to use to describe some of the stuff they've been up to. Like almost by mistake, almost by accident, they've put forth some of the greatest cards I've ever seen, whether it's UFC 214, 216, 217, and then 218. And 219 has come up. It may lack like hardcore star power, but it's got a lot of amazing fights, a ton of amazing fighters, great matchups. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be great. And I can't wait to get started on this podcast.
All right, cool. So, the prelims of UFC 219 and everything. It seems like they're still kind of rounding it out. I mean, you know, but they still do have some really good fights on the prelims, like Smoker versus Nicolau, Jury versus Glenn, Hooker and D, Kesey, you know, Roundtree,
Oh my God.
and Alex Zichek. They're on the like prelims and stuff like that. So, are there any fights on that card that you were really looking forward to, or you know, have any analysis or breakdowns of anything going on there?
Well, there's quite a few actually. There's Carlos Condit versus Neil Magny. He's one of the all-time greatest welterweights. I mean, natural born killer. His reputation precedes him. If you love MMA, you love Carlos Condit, as far as I'm concerned. Neil Magny's no joke either. I have a lot of respect for this guy. He's one of the most prolific fighters out there. Few fighters that can compete with Donald Cowboy Cerrone as far as just like how many times he fights in a year. And he's a very fine fighter in his own right, and he always makes progress. This is a lower ranked, or lower whatever fight. There's I can't pronounce his name, but it's Mikhail Olekchuk, I guess, from Poland.
Or Alexichuk or something.
Oleksichuk, okay. Taking on Khalil Roundtree, who I love this dude. I really like him. I mean, to me, he's impossible not to like. I love, like, where he's coming from. I love his fighting style. I love the fact that, he came in very, very raw, but every time I see him, he adds some kinks. He might never be champion, but what a great dude. And I just love watching him fight. Mark Diakese versus Dan Hooker is a great lightweight fight. Mark Diakese, he's one of the most talented athletes out there. He had a setback recently. He got too cocky versus Drakkar Klose, I believe his name is, and paid for it. But he's a very, very, he's probably the biggest talent coming out of England alongside Darren Till. Like, that's how highly I rate him. And Dan Hooker, I always enjoy watching his fights. You got Miles Jury versus Rick Glenn. I mean, both of these men are awesome. I'm a huge Miles Jury fan. So, that's Luis Smolka as well versus Nicolo Pereira, or whatever I don't know how you pronounce that. Nicolau, I guess.
Right.
That's great. And I mean, I've been a fan of Louis Smolka, and he was getting really close to a title shot. I think he'd won like 5 or 6 in a row, and then he dropped his last two. So I'll be looking on to see if he can get back in. Wow, sorry, he lost. He's dropped his last three, which is very, it's a bad place for him to be. So I wish him the best, and I look forward to watching him, get back on the winning track because he's a fine fighter. Another Hawaiian. Hawaii produces some amazing fighters. You got Marvin Vittori versus Omaria Akhmedov. I'm very, very high on Marvin Vittori. I think he's excellent, and I think he has great future in the UFC ahead of him or elsewhere. But I think he's on his way to greatness. That's what I think, anyways. Omaria Akhmedov, his reputation precedes him. He's just one of those Dagestani monsters.
Right.
Unbelievably tough, unbelievably strong, can grind people out or even knock people out. He's extremely powerful, so it's going to be a great test for Marvin Vittori. If he beats Omari Akhmedov, he's a contender. That's how tough and good and good all around. Like he's a very complete fighter, Omari Akhmedov. If you beat him, you're a top fighter. You got Tim Elliott versus Mark De La Rosa. Tim Elliott, another fighter I really like. God, there's quite a few, man. There's oh yeah, here's another one. Jimmy Rivera versus John Lineker.
Right.
Let's not talk
Yeah.
about that matchup. Jimmy Rivera is a future contender, if not future belt holder. That's how good I think this guy is. I mean, just look at what he did to Uriah Faber. I don't care that Uriah Faber was one fight removed from retirement. If you do what he did to Uriah Faber, you're a special fighter. Then he went from there to beating Thomas Almeida. Thomas Almeida is no joke.
Right. Yeah.
He's a top talent, top athlete, and he just shut him down. Cynthia Calvillo versus Carlo Esparza. That's going to be another great one. Come on, Edson Barbosa versus Habib. Come on. And then, of course, you've got Christian Cyborg Justino, the main event, versus Holly the Preacher's Daughter Home. So I'd say, I mean, I look forward to so many of these fights, but I think if I had to pick one, it would have to be the main event because it's just dripping with history. It's massive. It's huge. And I hope some of our idiot mainstream fans or, bandwagon fans realize just how huge this fight is. If they can understand just a quarter of the way how important this fight is, how massive it is, and how massive it is that Holly's taking on Cyborg, I'd be really happy because that would give us some hope because that's one of the biggest fights you can make. It's huge because it's not just a belt on the line, it's legacy. It's, you could say, the future of the women's of WMMA. Part of it rests on that because if it does well, they'll feature more and more women. They'll invest in the women more, and they should because the women are awesome and women fights are special fights. And I've noticed in the last year or so that since Ronda last fought, they haven't been promoting the women properly. They used to do a really good job, mostly thanks to Ronda. Ever since she kind of, well, I don't know if I could say moved on because you never know. She hasn't retired yet, but ever since she lost the second time, it's like they've kind of let the women fall by the wayside, and that's just ridiculous because they've got so many potential superstars I mean, they've got potential superstars everywhere. They just don't see it. But the women is particularly egregious because there are less women than men in the UFC and in MMA in general. So whenever you have someone special on your hands, you should just grab your destiny with both hands and run with it. Like Rose Namajunas just created one of the greatest upset in MMA history. She's an amazing human being. She's spectacular in the cage and just such a wonderful person out of it, and they haven't done anything for her yet. So I hope they don't make the same mistake with Holly or Justino, whoever wins, I hope they. I really hope they promote and they give her that extra push, because either of these women after December the 30th is going to be that much bigger. So if they're wise enough and intelligent enough to realize what they've got on their hands, I hope they promote them
Well, I
properly.
mean, no, it just depends. I mean, it seems like they have enough to promote. They just need stars to actually push those divisions instead of actually really talented fighters. It's kind of like they have a John Jones situation
I
where
get you.
John Jones by himself as a outside the cage superstar and celebrity type, presence. He doesn't have that,
No,
other
he
than the
doesn't.
trouble that he gets in. But fight wise and everything, he is a major draw anytime he steps inside the ring. And
Exactly.
that's the type of atmosphere that they're missing out with the women's division, with Rose Namajunas and everything. And they have that with Rose Namajunas, but they won't push Amanda Nunes to that type of position because they don't believe she has an outside of the cage presence, which, I mean, figuring and looking into her life, it might seem like that, but if they were to somehow try to work with her on that aspect, then it would work out more in their favor.
Absolutely. I mean, like, you don't have to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into investing in someone you don't think has that rub, has that star power. I get that. Like, if you don't believe in it, you don't believe in it. That's fine. But it's like they don't believe in anybody. And Amanda Nunes is one thing. I don't think, to be honest with you, like the way she talks and some of the comments she's made lately, and that's not a criticism, but I don't really think she wants to be a star. I think she likes her life the way it is. I think she'd like to get paid more, which she's entitled to, which she should. And I think she'd definitely like for the UFC president not to throw her under the bus every time chance he gets. But yeah, no, I can see that. Maybe Amanda Nunes doesn't capture the imagination like Cyborg does, but I'll tell you who can and who has and who will if they invest in her properly and they give her the right support is Holly. Holly is absolutely charming. Holly is awesome. Holly has
Yeah.
superstar written all over her,
Like
and she was
speaking of
close.
that, remember the amount of interviews and TV spots that she did after she won the belt? Not just for beating
Exactly.
Ronda
People
Rousey, but just because of how much they were pushing her.
no.
Amanda Nunes hasn't gotten
And and I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was, that 90% of that wasn't the UFC. That was people reaching out to her. ESPN reached out to her. I know that for a fact. It wasn't like from everything I've heard and seen. There was the UFC basically had nothing to do with it. It was Holly and her sweet self that was just so, like, people just can't get enough of her.
right.
Because
And
she
media
might not be
outlets
controversial,
see
but
that.
she's genuine, and people appreciate genuine.
Right.
She's awesome. She's the way she is. And she's not. This is not an act. This is not her trying to be charming, trying to be holier than thou. It's just the way she is, and that's that. And I think she's awesome. I mean, I'm the biggest Ronda Rousey fan, but I can't help but love Holly. Holly's special, man, and she's a wonderful athlete. She's violent in the cage. Some of her knockouts are some of the most violent in women's MMA. And it's just, I love watching her. She had a rough patch, but what I love about Holly is she never stops believing in herself. She never stops betting on herself. And, like, she had some bad setbacks. Okay. Her first two losses were legit, but the last one was just so bad. It was so egregious. It was laughable. And she didn't bite an eyelid. She just went back to the gym, started training, got a good win versus Betch Correia, and now she's fighting for the 145 for the female featherweight title. It's wonderful, man. It's very exciting, and like we were talking off air the other night, I honestly believe Holly wins this. There's no argument that she's the greatest female ever. I mean, forget the losses. Everybody loses. But it's the way she came back. It's the way she never stopped believing in herself, and now she's fighting the most feared woman might be even the most feared human being that's ever walked into a cage, just for her sheer dominance and her nastiness and violence. And Justino is a scary, scary woman, and good for Holly that she accepted the fight. And I wish her all the luck in the world. And well, how about this, Joe? How about you give us a quick rundown of your picks for last time?
Okay, well, I don't remember my quick rundown of picks, but I will give them again because I'm pretty sure they haven't changed.
All right.
I'm going to make this simple. Condit and Magny, this is the return of Carlos Condit, and a personal favorite of mine is Magny, the fighting robot. Like, he doesn't stop fighting, but the thing is, Carlos Condit, in between fighting people like GSP, Tyrone Woodley, and others and everything, I believe that Carlos Condit's striking is just it's too sharp, it's too precise, and it's possibly way over the skill level of Neil Magny, who is overall good in his techniques, but he's not amazing in that one technique it takes to stand and trade with Carlos Condit. On the ground, they might be even, but I'm still picking Carlos Condit in his adaptability to actually be gritty and fight through a lot of stuff thrown at him in between those people that I just stated that he's fought.
Mm-hmm.
Calvillo versus Esparza. Esparza, as much as I love to watch her fight, I think that Calvillo I think she's just the new generation of that division. And Carla Esparza, I don't believe that her evolution as a fighter has fully progressed past her really amazing wrestling. And this can definitely be a match of wrestler versus striker, where usually the wrestler does end up winning by grounding them into mat pace. But I'm still going to pick Cynthia Calvillo because, like I said, she's just a new generation of fighter, and she possibly has more tools to take this fight and not just deal with the intense ground game of Carla Esparza. Mm-hmm. Then Rivera versus Lineker, that's going to turn into a slugfest. This is what it's going to come down. It's definitely going to turn into a slugfest. And I believe that John Lineker definitely has the punching power to take this fight from Jimmy Rivera, and Jimmy Rivera is not going to back down. He's going to engage in this fight. And I'm going to have to say I'm going with John Lineker in this one, as I believe that John Lineker has the knockout power to trump Jimmy Rivera on this one. I mean, their KO ratios are completely, there's a gap there. Like Jimmy Rivera's KO ratio to John Lineker's KO ratio, it's like about 20 something percent there in terms of their KO TKO ratio. So I'm going to have to go with John Lineker in that one. And then Khabib versus Barboza. Here's the weird part about this. As much as I would want to say Khabib is going to steamroll Barboza in this one, Khabib, from what he said last time, he's planning on striking with Edson Barboza. Mm-hmm. Michael Johnson nearly took Khabib's head off in this last fight.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like, when you tell me these things, I can only think that they're purposely saying that to give Barboza a false sense of security or something, because
you know what, and that would be smart, that would be intelligent. But from what I've seen from Eddie Alvarez, when he says that he's going to strike with somebody and everybody's screaming no, he strikes with them. He said he was going to stand and trade with Conor McGregor and show everybody that his striking was great and that he could stand with and trade with Conor McGregor. And everybody told him, no, don't do that. And look what happened. Then he said he was going to stand and trade with Justin Gage.
And he did.
That turned into like them stumbling around like zombies, swinging at each other until one of them went down.
What a great fight, though.
Right, great fight. But Eddie walks away from that looking a mess. And that could have
Yep.
gone that could have gone either way. The only thing that was pushing them was their toughness. That was it.
Mm.
So when Khabib says that he's going to stand and trade with Edson Barboza, I'm not thinking that he is joking. And
Mm-hmm.
Edson Barboza is fast, he's accurate, and he's technical. And if Michael Johnson nearly took off Khabib's head, I'm going to have to say that Edson Barboza could possibly do worse. So I'm actually not going to pick anybody in that fight. And now with the Cyborg versus Home, to tell you the truth, I'm going to pick Cyborg in that one. I believe that if Holly Holm fought Jermaine Durandamy, and Jermaine Durandamy she's tough, okay, but if she couldn't take out Durandamy, even though she's a kickboxing champion herself and everything, I have a hard time believing that Holly Holm is going to have that power, other than a lucky or well-timed head kick to take out Cyborg in this. And Cyborg's power is completely overwhelming. And I think
Yeah.
Cyborg's going to take that.
Sure.
So that's my quick summary rundown of that. So there you go. Your turn, man.
All right. Okay, let's have a look. I've got Elliot over Nicolau or whatever his name is. Pereira.
Okay.
Okay, bear with me a second. Let me have a look here. Okay, I've got Marvin Vittori over Omari Akhmedov. I've got Louis Smolka over Nicolau Pereira. There you go. Tim Elliott's fighting a guy called Mark De La Rosa. I've got Miles Jury over Rick Glenn, which is not an easy pick to make. I've got, okay, I'm not going to pick Diakese versus Hooker. I've got Khalil Roundtree over Michael Olishchuk or whatever. I'm sorry. Olishchuk. I've got Carlos Condit over Neil Magny. Although I have nothing against Magny. I've got Calvillo versus Esparza. I've got Calvillo. I'm going to pick Rivera, although that's a really hard fight to pick, versus John Lineker. I've got Khabib over Edson Barboza, even though, you know, that's a really tough fight for Khabib. And yeah, shocker, I've got Holly over Christian Justino. I have nothing but respect for Justino. I just believe Holly's going to do it. I really do. And I believe that the way Cyborg fights is perfect it's tailor-made for Holly to have success, because she's going to be after her the whole time. She's going to be in her face. She's going to be chasing her, going to be trying to walk her down. And that's when Holly does her best work. And I believe in Holly. I'm a big fan. I have nothing against Christian Justino. I think it's, you know, it's not right the way the UFC treated her and the way some fans treat her, but I honestly believe in Holly for this one. Well, there you go. Those are my picks.
Okay, those are some pretty decent picks. I mean, like I said, those fights are just, some of those fights are just look like draws.
Yeah, they do. Some of these fights will probably be draws, or bad decisions, if you see what I mean.
Right. I mean, like the whole formula for either draws or bad decisions are there, and I got the picks that I could, and that's just how I see it. I mean, do you have a quick analysis of why you believe Holly Holm would beat Cyborg?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of gave it already. I didn't do it properly, but basically it's Holly fights best and at her nastiest and at her most powerful when you advance on her. The closest thing I can say, although they're very different kind of fighters, but they are very good counter. They have that in common. Jarina Bars versus Christian Justino in line fight. It was a Muay Thai fight, but the whole time Justino was just walking down Jarina Bars, and Jarina Bars just lit her up. I mean, it was a unanimous decision. Christian Justino didn't, you know, pass out or get knocked out, but it was close. A couple times it was really close. She got dropped, I think, 3 times in that fight, and I believe Holly can do the same thing. And I mean, those head kicks of hers, man, she can put anybody out with that. I don't care what your name is. I mean, I've heard she even knocked out some men with her head strikes. So, like, I honestly believe that that Holly's going to do it. It's the fact that she can fight. She's one of the few fighters who's perfected the art of fighting while retreating, fighting while walking backwards. So she can actually afford to just circle around Justino and avoid her, or she can go after her, but intelligently. And I believe that that they're coming up with a great plan. I know the odds are stacked against her, and like everything points to a cyborg victory. But that's why I'm just so. I mean, I'm a fan of Holly, but I also thought about it, and I always thought the worst possible matchup for Christian Justino is Holly, because Holly will disengage. Holly refuses to get to fight in the clinch. Like, so Cyborg never had issues with her health, or her cardio, pardon me, not her health, her cardio. But I believe she will get tired because she'll get punched in the face multiple times, and I believe Holly might even stop her. That's how much I believe in it. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what I believe.
Okay, all right. I guess we're at odds here on this one, so it's going to be interesting to watch and pretty exciting.
By the way, I completely respect and agree everything you said about Christian, and I respect your pick. Like most people, and I'm not just talking about like, ignoramus or donkeys, as far as like bandwagon jumpers. Whenever the guys who show up only when there's a huge fight. Um, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this ever since it was announced that Holly would take on Justino, and I came up with that. It's just, to me, I always said it, but now I believe it more than ever. Like, you look at her setbacks, you look at her three losses in a row, and Holly, and the way she just came back from it, like nothing had ever happened, shows immense strength of character. So, character that strong, like her will is just that powerful. I believe she'll pull it out as well. Like, and let's not forget, her camp is second to none.
Right.
Jackson Wink is just an amazing fight camp with so many talented fighters, and there's plenty. I mean, they've got hundreds of fighters there, so they'll, even if they only find 3 or 4, it's still going to be, it's going to be awesome. It's really going to be awesome, and Holly's going to do it, man.
All right.
I really believe that. I'm sorry, like, I can't get more technical than this because we don't have much time, but it's just like, okay, it's not going to be the same thing because Christian obviously is a better striker, more experienced and more fluid striker than Ronda. She's not going to make the same mistakes as Ronda. However, Christian Justino is extremely aggressive. I mean, you like I said, that Muay Thai fight versus Jarina Bars says it all. So if she can't get her hands on Holly quickly, she's just gonna, she's gonna try and cut off the ring, but it's gonna end up with her chasing. Like, even versus what's her name? The last time Justino fought, when she fought for the title versus what's her name from Invicta?
Why do I forget that one?
Tanya Evinger. Tanya Evinger. Like, I noticed some things. It was an impressive performance from both women. Justino, stopped her in the 4th round, was it? Or the 3rd round? One thing I did notice is Christian doesn't really cut off the ring. She follows. She follows you. And if you want to follow Holly, you're going to be in trouble because she can give you those lightning quick socks, or like socks in the face, or whatever. But like, the thing is, like, I know Justino can take a shot, and she will at first, and she'll eat them, she'll do them, but then after a while it'll slow her down. Just like when Jessica Andrade took on Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she had some success early on, but after a while she was just chasing her. She was in her face, but she was chasing. She wasn't like trapping her, she wasn't like cornering her, she wasn't like cutting off the cage to create, to cut off some of the space. She followed her, and look how she got lit up. And by the third or fourth round, pardon me, she was all but done. And I believe the same thing's going to happen on December 30th, because Holly's ready. Holly's been training for this fight for a long time, apparently. And everybody, just remember, it's funny, like when everybody is convinced one fighter is going to win.
Okay.
Like, but it's not even convinced, that it's like they're not giving Holly any chance at all. Just like they didn't give Holly any chance versus Ronda. And I was like, are you guys nuts? Like I picked Ronda to win that fight, but at the same time, I wasn't shocked when after 2 minutes of trading blows, it was very obvious who was on top, and it was Holly. I believe the same thing's going to happen versus Justino. It might take a little longer because Justino's prepared for her. Justino has respect for her, but I believe she'll shock the world once again, and we'll walk out December 30th with the unofficial title of, the greatest women's combatant, combat sports athlete ever. For me, she beats Justino. She's got it.
Okay.
She beat Ronda. That's my views. Anyways.
Cool. Well, I guess we're going to wrap this up, guys. Hey, thank you yet again for joining us on this Soul of a Fighter episode, for joining us on this quick shot while we give our analysis and our breakdown and predictions, everybody. So, yet again, we'll be bringing you another episode soon. Don't forget to join us on that one. And thank you so much yet again, everybody. And this is G, and I'm out. Cyrus
out. Thanks for listening. It was a short episode. We'll be back with longer, better stuff, and we're still working on interviews, promoter interviews, where we're gonna bring the big guns out next year. So to all who've listened and reshared or supported us, we really appreciate it. Wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year if we don't see you before 2018. And if we don't, then we'll see you on the other side. We'll see you in the new year.
All right, everybody, we are out. Don't forget to comment on what you think, who you think is going to win, what you think this card is going to be, and everything. Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, people. All right, Solo Fighter out.